And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Tim Carpenter, the Executive Director for Progressive Democrats of America, pdamerica.org, a group which is not affiliated with the Democratic Party, but works really hard to push the Democratic Party in a progressive direction.
Doing all we can, Tom, day in and day out.
Indeed. Tim Carpenter, the Executive Director, is here with us in the studio. Tim, it's always nice to see you in person.
I guess you can set your watch roundtable again today. Thanks for having us, Tom.
Sure. So, before we get to the roundtable and to the progressive budget, because that was the main topic of the progressive roundtable here in D.C., you guys, Tom Hayden, I guess, signed a letter or is signing a letter, and I'm signing a letter.
Everybody who will sign is signing. We want to get Bernie to run.
Yeah. So tell me about this. Senator Sanders.
Senator Sanders. We want Bernie Sanders to run for president in the Democratic primary.
How does that work?
Well, he's making a lot of noises that he wants to run, and we certainly want him to run. Who better to defend single payer and Social Security than Bernie Sanders? What we don't want is a repeat of Ralph Nader. We don't want an independent candidacy in September. What we'd like to see is Bernie to join with us that are fighting right now inside the Democratic Party and run in the caucuses in Iowa and in New Hampshire. For a lot of people, 16 presidential elections are around the corner, but for some of us, they're here. The reality is activists in Iowa and New Hampshire are mobilizing, and we need a strong voice. So what we need to do is, first of all, convince Bernie that there's an audience and we want him to run inside the Democratic primary. He's asked us to comment. John Nichols from The Nation magazine just ran a recent article, encouraged listeners to get a hold of that. He's asking for our comments, and that's what we're up to. Tom just sent out his letter. You signed one of the letters. Laura Flanders will be signing another one. I got mine out. We're at a little over 4,000 some odd signatures as we speak today. So I hope your listeners will go to the website.
Telling Bernie to run as a Democrat in the Democratic primary. It would be amazing to see Bernie in a primary debate with Obama and anybody else who decides to run.
pdamerica.org, right corner, click on sign on. We need everybody's signature and send Bernie that message.
There you go. PD America for progressive.org.
pdamerica.org.
For the Progressive Democrats.
And it's in the right-hand corner. It says, sign here. Let's get Bernie to run as a Democrat.
Cool. Okay. Do it. Go to pdamerica.org and click on that. So you guys had your Progressive Roundtable this morning here in Washington, D.C. What happened?
Standing room only. If I had told you back in December that we would have a budget that the Progressive Caucus would put forward that would talk about financial transaction tax. We've got the Robin Hood tax in there. We've got the carbon tax in there. So no longer do we have to talk about austerity. We can talk about prosperity. We have a revenue stream now to fund those projects we so desperately need to. We have a budget on the table that'll roll back sequester. We have a budget now that's going to work to cut the military budget over $800 billion over the next 10 years. We're very excited. Now, do we have the votes to pass it this time? Probably not. But hopefully we have enough votes to send a clear message to not only the Progressive Caucus members, but to the Democratic majority, hopefully, when they come back, when we take back the House, that we have the blueprint to begin moving in a real progressive direction.
And to start making some serious noise about this. I mean, Paul Ryan throws out a budget, which is total nonsense, doesn't even make sense, and has not a snowball's chance in hell of passing, which is what they would say of the progressive budget, by the way. You know, it's not going to, the Republicans in the House are not going to bring it to a vote, just like the Democrats in the Senate aren't going to bring Paul Ryan's budget to the vote. And Paul Ryan is nationwide. He's on all the TV shows. He's everywhere. Everybody's talking about it. The Progressive Caucus in Congress, I think, has a larger constituency than Paul Ryan does, even in the House of Representatives. And it's like radio silence in the mainstream media. What the hell's going on here, Tim?
Well, things actually are a little bit better this cycle. Last year, we made a little bit of a breakthrough. Even President Clinton talked about the progressive budget. While we're realistic in not passing this budget, what we have is a real organizing tool. And we are starting to break through some of the media. The rollout's begun. We're here today with you, certainly. We would expect to be. But on mainstream media, it's beginning. And that's what this next month is about, is to make sure people are aware that there is a debate going on. And as you said, the 72 members of the Progressive Caucus, who make up the largest caucus, have real numbers that add up, have a real program that'll put people back to work, and have a program that will deal with the deficit. So we can do all those things. But as you said, what we're lacking is that debate and the will to move forward.
Do you think that the fact that this debate, or that this budget, rather, is different from the one that the president has proposed, which is the official Democratic Party's budget, presumably because the president's the head of the party, that has something to do with why it's not as loudly trumpet. I mean, the Republicans don't have a John Boehner budget and a Paul Ryan budget. They've got just the Paul Ryan budget.
No, we're the minority within the minority. We're the progressive in the progressive wing of the Progressive Party. We're the minority. We've got to buck that mainstream. But the party leadership is allowing us to move forward more than we did, more aggressively than we did 2 years ago, last year, and certainly this year. The amount of attention that the budget's already gotten, you've had, I believe, already Keith Ellison and Mark Pocan already on your station. The leadership understands we're getting organized. We're the first budget out. We've got real numbers. As I said today, Congress isn't even in session right now. They're back in their district offices where we're delivering letters. Over 300 letters will be delivered again this week in support of this budget. So we're demonstrating to the leadership of the Democratic Party that there's genuine grassroots support here. We deserve a debate. We want a debate, and we're going to have that debate. We're going to keep pushing over the course of the next couple of weeks to ensure that the leadership understands that.
And if you want to participate in that, you can go to pdamerica.org and sign up and become a member and say, hey, you know, I'll do this out of my kitchen table.
Absolutely. What you can do is download a letter in support of what's being called the Better Off Budget. That letter is a very simple letter that can be downloaded, and Connor or Mike Fox from our office will make sure you can hand deliver these to your member of Congress to let them know. This is the debate, as we said, that's going to go on now for the next couple of weeks. So there's plenty of time for everybody to get involved.
There you go. We're talking with Tim Carpenter. He's the Executive Director of Progressive Democrats of America, pdamerica.org, where you can sign the petition to Bernie Sanders to please run as a Democrat.
Run, Bernie, run as a Democrat.
Yeah. And also you can read about the Better Off budget. Give us some of the, you mentioned the carbon tax and the STET tax, the securities transaction tax, the Robin Hood tax. What are some of the other pieces of the Better Off budget, that the Progressive Caucus's budget, that Americans should know about? First of all, is it a balanced budget?
Yeah, they definitely, it's to work towards a balanced budget to bring down the deficit. In itself, it won't get us there, but it'll move us in with deficit reduction. I think with what little time we have, Tom, this morning to share with listeners, I think personally, after being with you for so many visits, is the single-payer movement. Bernie Sanders has now introduced his single-payer bill on the Senate side. We had our first hearing, and the Better Off budget has that language in it to allow states to move forward with their plans to get the waiver restrictions lifted that they need in order to move towards single-payer.
So Vermont can go to single-payer immediately rather than waiting until after
faster
2016.
than they can. California, which is in the process. So that language is in the Better Off budget, which I'm personally very excited about. And as I said, on the heels of our first hearing in the Senate, a lot of momentum. I think on the defense side, to talk for the first time in real numbers, real reduction of $800 billion over the next 10 years of the military budget. What we're discovering going through this budget process are the real numbers in the Pentagon. The $480 billion that the president is asking for is not really the real number. There's a lot more going on there than meets the eye in this budget.
You're talking about the black numbers, the missing numbers, the vanished, the
slush fund,
yeah.
The numbers we don't hear about, the $50 billion stashed here and there that we don't know about. So this is an attempt to put some light on that and to really cut the defense budget over the course of the next 10 years to put us on track to get the defense budget, the military budget back in order. And as I said, for those of us that have been really, really struggling with the Robin Hood tax and to get a fair debate on that, to have that in there. And then on April 4th, one thing to leave on the Robin Hood tax will be National Days of Action. We want to take each week as we move into the budget process to really focus on these issues. April 4th, unfortunately, marks the anniversary of Dr. King's assassination. So on that day, we're going to really talk about what it means to have real revenue streams inside our budget where we can begin to do those things that Dr. King talks so much about, whether it be a jobs program or healthcare for all.
What does the Better Off budget do for people who have lost their homes as a result of the theft of $8 or $9 trillion by the banksters and who are long-term unemployed and have been cut off by the Republicans? It
puts the insurance. There's a number of things that are important in regards to special. First is the sequester. It rolls back to sequester numbers. It puts back the money that the unemployed that have been denied. It gives them back that. And then long term, I can't answer the specificity in regards to the banking reform, but it begins to look at the Dodd legislation and glass ceiling once again to get that back under control. But
to bring Glass-Steagall back into play.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a big deal. You know, it's like getting.
I think we can point to where a lot of it under the Clinton administration, where a lot of this unraveling began.
Well, and don't blame Bill Clinton. Blame Phil Gramm and his wife Wendy, who was on the board of Enron. I mean, this was all done because Ken Lay wanted it done.
And if we have enough time, we can go all the way back to Ronald Reagan when the rollback began.
Of course.
In real terms.
It all began with Reagan. That's what my wife says it's going to say on my tombstone. Tim Carpenter, pdamerica.org, Progressive Democrats of America. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks as always, Tom.
And get you over to pdamerica.org and sign that petition to get Bernie.